It is time for my 2021 NBA trade deadline predictions. So yeah, before I before I get into the actual trade deadline predictions, we have got to go over the buyers and sellers at the trade deadline from what I predict. So yeah, the 2021 NBA trade deadline buyers, in my opinion, are the 76ers, Nets, Heat, Hawks, Knicks, Bulls, Warriors, Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Nuggets, Blazers, Mavs, Warriors, and Celtics. The do nothing category, I think, is going to be the Pacers, the Raptors, the Wizards, Pistons, Bucks, Timberwolves, Grizzlies, and Spurs. And the sellers are going to be the Cavs, Magic, Rockets, Kings, Thunder, and Pelicans. So yeah, let's go get into my 2021 NBA trade deadline predictions. But let's go ahead and start off with some buyout players. I definitely think LaMarcus Aldridge and Andre Drummond will be hitting the buyout market. I think that their contract's going to get bought out. And Andre Drummond, uh, I mean, he's already not playing for the Cavs. And I think it's going to be between the Nets or the Lakers. I think this is going to be I think it's going to be. I think if he's going to take a contract buyout and forfeit some of that money, then he is definitely going to go to a contender. And I think this was just to chase the ring. And he's going to go to the Brooklyn Nets, which is a big move for the Brooklyn Nets because the Brooklyn Nets need a center. Yes, Nicholas Claxton's been playing very well, but they still do need a center. And Andre Drummond would fit very well with this team. So, yeah. The other buyout player is LaMarcus Aldridge. I think he's going to the Heat. The Heat seem like the favorite right now. He'd make a ton of sense here. It's a veteran forward that they could use on. There are some young players on that team, so he would be a good veteran on that team. And the power forward position's definitely a need for this team. Consider they just traded Myers Leonard to Oklahoma City, and yeah, I mean their power forward depth is just not very good. So this is another kind of buyout situation where you're kind of chasing another ring here if you're LaMarcus Aldridge. Now let's go ahead and get into the trades. First trade is going to be that I predict to happen. I think JJ Redick's gone from the Pelicans. I can't see a way that the Pelicans keep JJ Redick. JJ Redick's on an expiring $13 million contract, and I don't think it would make a ton of sense at all for the Pelicans to keep him. So I think he's going to go to Denver. The Nuggets have had previous interest in JJ Redick, and I think he would be very good on this team. In return, the Pelicans will get Paul Millsap and RJ Hampton. RJ Hampton is a young player who could play the point guard or shooting guard position in the future. I think he would play more of the shooting guard position. I think they could be looking for a shooting guard in the draft as well. And I think that Paul Millsap, he's just an expiring contract. You're kind of just stacking up the power forward position at that point. But he's an expiring contract. You're only going to have to it's $10 million. It's not going to kill an NBA franchise to pay him that contract. And for the Nuggets, obviously you get shooting here. He's probably going to be your backup behind Gary Harris here, but that's okay. I think that is the first trade that's going to happen. So next is kind of a small trade here. It's going to be for Hassan Whiteside to go to the Celtics. He's on a veteran minimum contract, $2.3 million on just a 1-year contract. In return, the Kings will get Grant Williams and 2 second-round picks via Charlotte and via Dallas, Miami, or Houston. Those will be 2023 and 2022 second-round picks. Those second-round picks could maybe turn into a hidden gem in the draft. But as far as you're concerned, if you're the Kings, Grant Williams is a young player that might turn into a little bit of something, but I wouldn't expect a lot. And if you can get this out of Hassan Whiteside, I would definitely do it. This is a good fit for the Celtics, too. You get your center that you need, whether he is at the backup or not. I think this would make quite a bit of sense. Next is kind of a big trade here. Lonzo Ball to Chicago. I think Lonzo Ball would be a great fit in Chicago. Not to mention the fact that Chicago has some players that the Pelicans would definitely would be excited to get back possibly in a trade. I don't think they're getting Kobe White, but I think they will get Lowry Markkanen, who's on an expiring $6.7 million deal, and they're going to get 2 first-round picks, top 5 projected in 2022 and in 2025. They'll get a first-round pick unprotected from Chicago. And there's no saying that either of these players will be re-signed here for either team. So it could just be a kind of lose-lose trade all around, especially considering I don't think that the Bulls will probably end up in that top 5. I think they'll still get their picks that they have, but still, I think this is a good trade for the Bulls. I think this pushes them more towards the playoffs, especially this makes a better backcourt because Zach LaVine is a player that is just not very good defensively, and Lonzo Ball would make a ton of sense on this team. Lowry Marketing, yes, you have to give him up, but that opens a spot for Patrick Williams at the forward position that he could play. So I think it would make a ton of sense all around for both sides. Next is kind of a small trade. The Suns are going to get JaVale McGee, who's on a $4.2 million expiring contract for Javon Carter in 2 seconds. This is not a big trade at all. But JaVale McGee is a good backup center that I think the Suns could use. They have DeAndre Ayton at the starting center position, but they do need a backup. And I think that JaVale McGee could be that backup center for them. Next trade is going to be Larry Nance Jr. to the 76ers. We saw that a ton of teams had interest in Larry Nance Jr. just a few days ago, and the rumors have kind of died off. But in return, the Cavaliers will mainly be getting a top 5 protected 2023 first-round pick, which I doubt will be in the top 5. I highly doubt will. But besides that, it's a lot of expiring contracts. Vincent Poirier, Terrence Ferguson, and Mike Scott. It's just expiring contracts for this team in return and a first-round pick, so you can hope that maybe that first-round pick is good in 2023. Next, it's going to be a trade between the Thunder and the Clippers for George Hill's heading to the Los Angeles Clippers. He's on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal each year. In return, the Thunder will get Luke Kennard, Reggie Jackson, and Patrick Peterson. They'll also get 2 second-round picks. Luke Kennard would be a good young player on this team. Reggie Jackson, Patrick Patterson, they're just expiring contracts. They're here simply to make the money work. They make no sense for the future of this Oklahoma City team. But Luke Kennard maybe could be good for this team. He just got extended, so he'll be under the team's control. And you get 2 second-round picks, one in 2022 and one in 2024. Next trade is going to be one of the bigger ones. The Mavericks get Evan Fournier for James Johnson and a 2025 first-round pick, top 10 protected. Evan Fournier would fit great on this Mavericks team. Yes, they have Luka Doncic, but even if he's a sixth man, that would make a ton of sense for the Dallas Mavericks. For the Magic here, you get back in return James Johnson, who's in a big expiring contract, and Evan Fournier is not going to come back. He said that he has no interest in re-signing with the Magic. So why not get a pick that's probably going to be outside of the top 10 unless things go wrong there and Luka Doncic is not still there and maybe, but still it's a top 10 protected. James Johnson is a player that he's a power forward. Evan Fournier is obviously the main player here and he fits very well on Dallas. Next 2 trades are the bigger trades of what I predict to happen at the trade deadline. Yes, I don't expect Kyle Lowry to be traded, Nikola Vucevic to be traded. A lot of these bigger names I actually don't expect to be traded. I just don't see the Raptors trading Kyle Lowry, especially when they've been on a kind of winning streak. They're kind of going to get together, and they could easily get the 5th or 4th seed in just a couple of wins here for Toronto. Next trade, though, is a player that demanded a trade from Orlando yesterday. Well, it was actually like a month ago, but we just found out about this now. So, Aaron Gordon to the Boston Celtics for Tristan Thompson, Semi Ojeleye, Romeo Langford, the big piece here for the Magic, and 2 first-round picks, 2024 round 1, top 5 protected, and in 2022 you get the Celtics' first top 3 protected. So, yeah, if they're any sort of really, really good here, the Celtics will get their pick back. But still, Aaron Gordon seems to be the front runner to go to the Celtics here. Seems like they're going to use their trade exception on Aaron Gordon here. I still made the money work. But, yeah, you could see a way for Tristan Thompson's not included in this deal just because they do have that trade exception. But I think that Romeo Langford, Aaron Nesmith, one of those players for the Celtics will have to get moved in this trade. I don't think there's a way for the Celtics to get around that. But Aaron Gordon's a player that would fit pretty decently on this team. He's a very good defensive player. If his offense can really get a little bit better, then the Celtics might have found a really good player here. He's only 6'8", but maybe you could run him out some small ball 5 here if you really wanted to. And, yeah. Obviously, you got Hassan Whiteside in another trade in my prediction. So, yeah. Will this trade happen? Who knows? It seems like the Rockets are heavily pursuing Aaron Gordon as well, and the Nuggets are pursuing Aaron Gordon. Next is going to be probably the biggest trade of the trade deadline. What most people are expecting to be the biggest trade of the trade deadline. He's going to New York. Yeah, and here is just a rumor. Bulls remain open to discussing Lowry marketing trades from what it looks like. So yeah, maybe that trade does happen. But let's go ahead and get into the biggest trade, I think, of the trade deadline. Victor Oladipo to New York for Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, Frank Ntilikina, 2021 first-round pick via Dallas, no protections on that, and Obi Toppin. Now, you might say, why give up Obi Toppin here for Victor Oladipo that might not even re-sign with your team? Well, I think that he is going to have to. I think that New York is definitely a place that he might want to stay, and I think there's a good chance that he might want to stay. Yes, he does think that. Yes, he does want to go to Miami, but does Miami want him? Because we know how Miami's not wanted to give up Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero for anybody. They weren't willing to give up Tyler Hero for James Harden. That tells you how much they're just bent on not trading or not ruining Tyler Hero's development. So I think that it may be an idea where the Heat don't have interest in Victor Oladipo. But yeah, I think that this is what they're going to have to do. The price was pretty steep from what we're hearing, and Obi Toppin has to fit that there. A player that was just drafted top 10 in the 2020 draft. Maybe it's a little too much to be giving up, but here the Knicks get their superstar, and that's what the Knicks want and need. So yeah, you give up a first-round pick via Dallas, which is probably going to be in the 20s. If we're big guys, Frank Ntilikina, Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock, all expiring contracts. Who knows what they could possibly be on the Rockets? But Obi Toppin's obviously the main piece here. Maybe it is a little too much to be giving up, but that's okay for the Knicks here. Obi Toppin has no spot on this team, no spot at all. Julius Randle's an all-star, and Julius Randle is under contract for, I'm pretty sure, the next 2 or 3 years. So Obi Toppin, his development is really just not going to be that great in New York. So why not trade him, get Victor Oladipo, and I mean, maybe he does sign a contract extension when he goes to New York. You can hope for that. So yeah, I don't think that Kyle Lowry gets traded at the trade deadline. I really don't. I don't think Vucevic gets traded. I just don't really think that Vucevic gets traded. And yeah. Oh, I forgot a trade here. The Hornets get Richaun Holmes from the Sacramento Kings. I think this would be a very good trade for the Hornets here because the Hornets obviously need a center. Cody Zeller is just not doing it as their center here, and I think that Richaun Holmes would make a ton of sense on this team. So Richaun Holmes to the Hornets is another move. They'll be giving up Miles Bridges and a first-round pick with, I'm pretty sure that's lottery protected, and Cody Martin. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. That is my 2021 NBA trade deadline predictions. The trade deadline's only 2 days away. And maybe Kyle Lowry and Nikola Vucevic do get moved. But yeah, these are my 2021 NBA trade deadline predictions. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and peace.